So for every single thing you see in this video, I blame BookTube. Hi everyone, my name's Koi, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today is day number, I have no idea, of BOOKMAS. I am pre-filming all of these, so I have no idea what order they are going up in. But basically, I am doing a video every day up until the 25th of December, up until Christmas Day. I am showing all the festive spirit on BookTube. I've decorated my shelves, we're ready to go. You might have heard that sort of intro in a few different videos now. Sorry about that, like I said, I'm pre-filming them all, so I have no idea where I'm at. Can you tell I'm going a bit delirious already, and I'm only really at the start of all this. Today's video is BookTube made me do it. So I have got a collection of books in front of me that I will be telling you about today that I do not think I would have read had I not been in the BookTube community. And I don't just mean this as somebody who is now making videos. Obviously this is a newer thing for me. I only started making them in March this year. But just in general, being in the BookTube community, like some of these books I actually bought before I ever started making videos, but when I was an avid watcher of BookTube, yeah, we are guilty of making people want to buy more books. And I know it's not great because I know a lot of people maybe aren't in a position to be able to buy books whenever they want to. And I have definitely been in that position before where I have seen things and just not been able to justify the cost of something or not had the space for it or whatever reason it is. So I just want to say now, this is not a way of saying that anybody needs to buy anything that people show on BookTube. I mean, libraries are great resources as well. I also use like subscription services like Scribd or Audible. I know, again, costing money, but sometimes Scribd in particular, where you can read more than one book a month and you can read ebooks and audiobooks. Quite helpful because then there are books that I maybe can't afford to get at the minute, but I can listen to them on there and listen to a few for what the price of one would have been. By the way, this seems like it is just a shameless plug for Scribd. It's not, but I do have a referral code down below. If you want to sign up, you get 2 months free. Anyway, moving on. What I'm saying is, I know I buy a lot of books, but do not feel any pressure to have to do so yourself. But I am blaming BookTube for me buying most of these ones. I'm also going to talk about some other things that BookTube made me do that weren't related to specific books, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. Right now, let's just talk about books that I honestly would not have read was I not watching BookTube videos. Okay, so there is no way I can do this video without mentioning Miss Robin Hobb. So these are the ones that I own so far. There are 16 books in total in this series, and I will own each of them by the end of it. I'm sort of buying them as I'm about to read them. But basically, Robin Hobb writes adult fantasy with sort of like a medieval setting. It is not something that I would normally have reached for, but there are some live shows that happen. It is the Catch Up Book Club that is reading all of the Hobb books, and I kept seeing these live shows happening and kept hearing people talk about these books after reading them alongside them, and I was just feeling like I was missing out. There was, even though it wasn't something that I would normally lean towards, the way that people talked about these books just made me want to read them and see what all the hype was about. And obviously I found that I did actually like them because I've carried on buying them. When I first started reading it, I did just buy the one. I was quite sensible and I was like, I'm just going to see what it's like. And then now, yeah, I'm up to here, and I will be buying the last live ship traders imminently because I'm about to read Mad Ship this month, which means I need Ship of Destiny ready to carry on with straight away. But yeah, if BookTube didn't exist, if people weren't hyping these books up on BookTube, I would have possibly heard of these because they are sort of referenced as like influencers for other fantasy writers and things like that. I know on the front of some of the other books that I've got, it says like, if you like Robin Hobb, you'll love this. So I probably would have heard of them, but I just don't think I would have had any inclination to pick them up whatsoever. To me, it would have been like, okay, it sounds intriguing, but at the same time, it's a fantasy set in a medieval world. I wouldn't have picked it up. That I feel like I'm just rambling now about this series because there's nothing much else to say. It just was not my sort of book, and now I can without a doubt say it's one of my favourite series of all time. These are in no particular order, by the way, so I'm just picking up what's in front of me. But the next book that comes up as BookTube made me do it, it's a bit of a random one, but that is Docile by Karen Sparrow. So I've been watching BookTube for a while, but I used to watch a lot of the sort of American creators, the big name ones who've been in it for a while. People like Emma Books and Puddle and Banana Books and people like that who have been in it for a while. And it's in sort of this last year that I started watching more of the British BookTube community, and the first person that I really started watching in that was Maddie from Book Browsing Blog, and this was on Maddie's favourite books of last year, I believe, and it sounded very intriguing when she said it, but I had literally never heard of this book before I heard her talk about it. And then it was a pick for the book club that she was hosting with Spooks, which was the Burned Book Clubs, which was all about reading dystopian books. And I decided to read it alongside them, and I always say I don't know if enjoyed is the right word for this book, because it is a hard read and there are some lots and lots of trigger warnings. There are some very sensitive topics in here, but I appreciate that this book is possibly the better way to say it. Basically, this is about a world where all debt is familial, so it's passed on through generations, and if the debt gets too much, you have an option in paying it off, which is to become a docile, which is essentially a slave for one of the richer families. And there are different types of dociles, so some of them are more sort of manual labour and some of them are personal dociles, which does have a more sexual context to it. And when you become a docile, you have the option to take a drug which is called docile. You get it injected into you and it makes you forget everything that is happening during that time. The main character in this, Elisha, decides that when he becomes a docile, he's not going to take the docile because there are some bad family memories to do with it, and it is kind of about him slowly being broken as a person throughout this experience, as he is a personal docile for the other main character in here. And like I said, lots and lots of trigger warnings. It literally says on the back, contains forthright depictions and discussions of rape, abuse and other consent violations, as well as attempted suicide and suicidal ideation. So I would not recommend this book to everyone at all, but I am glad that I read it. I think it was very thought-provoking, and I would not have read it had Maddie not talked about it on BookTube. Let's really change gears here and go from a very sort of disturbing book in a way to a fun middle grade, shall we? So, Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I don't tend to read a lot of middle grade. It's not something I tend to reach for. When I do read middle grade, it tends to be that an author I like for their YA or adult books tends to then release a middle grade. So like I've read V.E. Schwartz's middle grade. I know that Angie Thomas is writing one at the minute, so I'll probably read that. But I don't tend to just go and pick up random middle grades that I have no other connection to. But in sort of watching the sort of group of YouTubers that I was talking about, I started watching Jade and I started watching Gavin, and this one was picked as a middle grade monthly pick, and I again just saw everyone reading it and absolutely loving it and decided that I needed to pick it up. And this one is a fun middle grade about a girl whose brother goes missing, and she finds out that it's something to do with his new job, which is at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and she ends up sort of joining that bureau to find out what happened to her brother. And I did enjoy this book. I didn't love it quite as much as everyone else did. I gave it 4 stars. There were a couple of things that I just wanted. There was like some trials and things, and I wanted that to be a bigger plot line, but I did really enjoy it for what it was, and I'm happy that I read it, and I would not have read it had BookTube not told me to do so. So yeah, Amari, I think this one would be on a lot of people's list. I haven't actually said, by the way, all of these books that I'm picking are books that I read this year. There are plenty of other books previously that I only read because of BookTube. Most of the things behind me, to be honest, but I'm specifically going with ones that I acquired and read this year. Some of the other ones I read this year I've had for multiple years, so they still count, but I'm going for ones that I actually bought this year because of BookTube. And so the next ones to talk about are House in the Cerulean Sea, and then because of that, Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. So can we just appreciate these covers? Just quick break to appreciate these edges. So in particular, this one, it is about a character called Linus who works for what is kind of like social services, but it particularly looks at children with magical powers. And there is this orphanage where all of these children are living together, and he is sent to go and assess the orphanage, and it's told that all these children are very dangerous, and that I think they're kind of wanting him to come back with a negative assessment. But when he gets there, he ends up falling in love with the children and also with the gentleman who runs the orphanage as well. It's very soft, it's very beautiful, it's got all the found family vibes in here, and I loved this book, and I would not have read it had I not heard about it on BookTube, because it didn't actually have a UK publisher at the beginning of this year. It only got a UK publisher in like September, I think it was, but I read it in, I think, January. This is the Illumicrate version, so I ended up getting a special edition because I love this book so much. But there isn't one particular person who spoke about this. It was on a lot of people's favourites last year, I think it was. I read it very early this year, and yeah, would not have read this without BookTube, and then would not have read Under the Whispering Door either, because this one is TJ Klune has wrote many books, but they kind of span a number of genres. So I also read The Extraordinaries this year, but that's kind of a different type of story completely. Under the Whispering Door is very much in line with House in the Cerulean Sea. It's about a main character called Wallace who works as a lawyer. He's not particularly liked in his life. He's not got many friends or people that are close to him. And when he passes away, he goes to this way station where he kind of has to figure some things out before he can move on to whatever the next step is going to be. And it is just about that, about him sort of figuring out his life after his life has actually finished. And I adored both of these books, and I'm very happy to BookTube for recommending these to me. And then the last sort of set of books in this is kind of like a whole genre really, and it is adult romance. So adult romance to me before BookTube was always seen as something very cringy. I would always think of like the Mills and Boon covers with like the ridiculous like Fabio on the front cover with his long hair flowing, and it was just something that was not for me. And then even the other ones that I read were sort of like the chick lit type stuff where it always seemed to be like somebody in their 30s who was classed as a spinster because she was unmarried, and it was just not necessarily what I wanted to be reading. But I feel like adult romances have been really taking a turn in more recent years, and I feel like there's so much more out there these days, and they are just really fun to read as well. So there's a couple of particular authors I could shout about for this. There is Christina Lauren. I definitely read a lot of her books because of BookTube. There is also this year the X-Hex was mentioned a lot, and I ended up reading this one and loving it. There's also ones that I want to read, like The Love Hypothesis. I know we've all heard about this one recently, and I really want to read that one soon. But the series that really jumps out to me is the Brown Sisters trilogy. So we have got Get a Life, Chloe Brown, Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. And I read all three of these this year, and I absolutely adored them. They are all different sort of tropes from rom-coms and romance books, and they were about three sisters, so they're all sort of interconnecting novels. You don't have to read them all, but it is good when you do, because you get little sort of Easter eggs from each other in them. And I really loved all three of these books, again so much so that I ended up getting the pretty special editions because I'd listened to them on audiobooks originally. So when I decided I wanted a physical copy, I thought, why not get the nice sort of hardbacks for my shelves? And yeah, again, nobody in particular that probably pointed these out to me. I think quite a few people had read them over the last sort of year or so, but I'm very happy that BookTube did point them out to me because I very much enjoyed reading them. I found that adult romance is the perfect thing for me to pick up if I just want something really quick and easy and to sort of get me out of a slump at all. And so much so that I have added some adult romances throughout my TBR in December just to break up the chunky fantasies that I need to read. So I think that is the main books that BookTube made me read this year. But I do just want to talk about a couple of other things that BookTube made me do this year, and that is basically just to make videos and to talk to you guys and sort of become more of a part of the bookish community. I have been, like I said, watching BookTube for many years now, but I never really had the confidence to make videos myself. I didn't think that I had enough to talk about, even though I can talk for hours on end about books. I just didn't think that translated onto camera. And then basically earlier on this year, I was getting more and more involved in the bookish community in general. I was watching sprints a lot and being in the comments and things like that, and was just wanting to sort of be more of an active part in it. And I decided to start making videos, and it is now about 9 months into this channel. I got more subscribers than I expected to, definitely. I love chatting to you guys in the comments. I'm trying to be more active on Twitter so that I can chat to you guys more on there as well. And basically, yeah, BookTube made me do BookTube, made me be a BookTube creator, and for that I am very happy. So we got nice and zappy at the end of this video. That is everything. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Let me know what things BookTube has made you do, whether it's read a specific book or if there's something else that's just sort of changed in your life because of BookTube. Let me know. And I will see you guys tomorrow with a new video. Bye.